Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified in all that we do. We ask that we know you, love you, and serve you. We ask that we may come to become your servants always, and we may testify to your truth. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today is two things. It is the memorial of Saint Scholastica. Saint Scholastica was Saint Benedict's sister. So that's important to know. And she lived in a monastery, and he lived in a monastery. And there's this great story about how they lived a very, very holy life. And remember, a holy life is not a life where people, they're so good, they're so holy. No, a holy life is one where people are closer to God. So the holier someone is, the closer one is to God. So that's an important part. So it's not just someone who lives a virtuous life. You've probably heard me do a whole teaching on that. But it's someone who seeks to live the gospel to come closer to God. So that was Saint Scholastica and Saint Benedict. Saint Benedict, by the way, her brother, so actually you could see how they would be related. He was the one who really invented the real understanding of living in a monastery that we see today. There were monasteries prior to that, but this is where he really created it. And so we have Benedictine monasteries. There's one down in Hingham, Massachusetts, for those of you in the Massachusetts area, called Glastonbury, which, as I understand it, is connected to the one in England, which is also called Glastonbury. There are other monasteries in the area that are offshoots of the Benedictine monastery. There's another one in Spencer. There's another one in Wrentham. The Spencer is what is known as Cistercian, also known as Trappists. And the Cistercian Abbey is a very strict form of the Benedictine style. And the Trappists, they're the Trappists in Spencer, Massachusetts, St. Joseph Abbey. And then there's another abbey in Wrentham, which is Trappistine, which is the female understanding of a manifestation of the Trappist order. There is another Benedictine order out in Petersham, Massachusetts, and it's, as I understand it, one of two monasteries in the whole world that is male and female. The women live on one side of the monastery, one monastery on one side of the chapel, and the men live on a monastery on the other side of the chapel, and the chapel is where they unite. So that's in Petersham, Massachusetts. So Benedict and Scholastica were basically the founders of these early monasteries, and they were brother and sister. So today we're remembering Scholastica. In our reading today, now we see the temptation. This is something that I learned a long time ago, and I use this all the time for what do you call them? Quinceañeras. I haven't been able to do a quinceañera in a while because I don't work with the Hispanic community as directly as I do with the Brazilian community. Quinceañera is a 15-year-old girl's birthday, and it basically says she's now an adult. And so a lot of times it's done with a mass. Now, some places it isn't. Disney has its own form of quinceañeras that are obviously that does not. I don't think it involves a mass. Disney does. Someone told me a long time ago. It's not a comment on Disney. It's because they want to not get involved in religious disputes. There is no chapel on Disneyland or Disney World. So I've been told, if you want to correct me, you can correct me. At least no denominational chapel. Right across the street from Disneyland, I don't know if it's still there, used to be a place called Melodyland. And that was David Wilkerson's brother's place. And he had this huge, I think it was Assembly of God church right across the street from Disneyland. But anyway, a quinceañera is a 15-year-old girl's birthday. It is practiced in Central America, parts of Puerto Rico, and probably Dominican Republic too. It's really not practiced that much in South America. So it's an important point. And imagine the situation. What a quinceañera looks like is a wedding without the groom. So you have the girl who is the quinceañera will be sitting where the bride and the groom would sit, but this time it's only her. And she's got what are known as damas y caballeros, which we would call ushers, which would be caballeros, and obviously you wouldn't call them bridesmaids because this is not a wedding. As I said, it looks like a wedding without a groom. But this is the women who are part of her court. And so she is in the center, and that's as where the bride and the groom would sit. And here it is just the quinceañera, the woman herself. And of course, the parents are there and everything else. Well, when I have preached at these, I always say remember, you're talking 15-year-olds, 15-year-old caballeros, the ushers, 15-year-old damas, the part of the woman's court. And I always ask, who is stronger, the man or the woman? And oftentimes, and remember, these are 15-year-old Latino kids, and they're going to kind of, especially the boys, are going to kind of show that strength, and then and a lot of the women will say, "Well, no, it's the men." And then I always go, "Then why did the devil tempt the woman first?" And they just go, "Oh." Very interesting question. And then I explain the important role of the women in the church and in society. And one of the things I actually do, I'm going to talk about this on the other side of the break, is an important question or important thing I point out to the women. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WEZE. We'll be right back. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. And don't forget our own website, CatholicAudiomedia.com, CatholicAudiomedia.com. Connect us to St. Anthony Parish, stanthonyalston.org, by the way, if you want to go directly to the parish. You can also connect us to the podcast platforms we use, and you can also listen to the programs for the past few days. You can do all that over there at CatholicAudiomedia.com. So one of the things that I will do at a quinceañera to show the power of the woman is I will say to remember, these are all like 15-year-old boys, and I will say 15-year-old men, and I will say to them, let me, just to show to the women how powerful they are. I said, now, if you're thinking of quitting school and your girlfriend says not to, you're going to quit school, and I have never heard one of them say yes. Every one of them say, no, I won't. And I look at them and says, do you see the power you have? You have tremendous power, and that's the power of, the woman that you're called to have. And so I really show that. So when we see the temptation, which is today's reading, you will see there's an important point of the devil tempting the woman first. And a lot of people will say, well, that shows that she's weaker. Well, not necessarily. It shows that he understood, hey, if we can undermine the woman, we can undermine the man. You see, remember, it says right at the beginning of the reading that we see as the snake, who we understand as the devil, was the most cunning of all the animals. So the snake is the one who's constantly thinking, oh, how can we do this? What can we do? And therefore, when you see this, we don't turn around and just dismiss this. Oh, yeah, well, he went after the woman because she's so weak. No. There's a reason why he went after the woman. The woman is a very strong part of every society. And as you know my story, I've worked very strongly with the Latino community. And one of the things that you will find is a common term among the Hispanics is a term called doña. It's a term of high respect for a woman leader in the church. We don't have an English version of it. The closest thing we have is dame, which is British, and we don't have anything like that here in the United States. It is the female form of don, which is a very also a term of great respect. We don't use it really here in the United States. Well, in many communities throughout the world, you have this strong understanding of the role of women in the community, and the role of women is a powerful role, and it's not a case where the woman is second-class citizen and she has to do everything the man says. It's more or less that, as St. Paul says, they work together, but the woman plays this intensely powerful role in the society, usually in the community, and also in the family. And this is what we see in Adam and Eve, and this is why it's so important to understand the devil tempted Eve first, not because she was weaker than Adam, but she was the support for Adam, that without her, Adam collapses, which is exactly what happens. And we see that within the church. So always understand, and women in the church will say, well, there's no role for us. If you're in a parish where there's no role for you, that's a problem. There is always this powerful role that can be understood, and we see that right in Genesis. We'll be back on Monday. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.